Hi, everyone. Good evening. Let's do a small exercise before we go deep into the talk, which talks about invisible roots of social change. Everyone, close your eyes. Don't worry, I'll still be around when you open it. Now imagine you're standing at the edge of the forest. It's quiet. You look around, you see nothing but trees. But beneath your feet, something powerful is happening. Roots are intertwining, sharing water, nutrients, reaching deep. Yes, even messages. Trees are talking. Open your eyes. Welcome to Nature's WhatsApp. But this talk isn't about trees. It's about the roots that you don't see, the invisible efforts, the quiet rebellions, the messy beginnings that have the power to shake the entire ecosystem. Grassroots movements, they start small on WhatsApp groups, in basements, on DMs, but they have the power to move the mountains. Now, what are these grassroots movements? Grassroots movements are small, bottoms-up efforts by ordinary people, not governments, not institutions, but they are focused on creating a change in the community. They are fueled with passion, with necessity, and a deep understanding of the local reality. And that's the root we are talking about. Now, when we think about all the social and technological changes that has happened, this talk will be focused on exploring how these changes have begun world-shaping wildfires, and what does it take for you and me to plant that seed. Let's rewind to 1955. A tired woman named Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a bus in Montgomery, Alabama. Simple act, massive ripples. She didn't throw a punch, she didn't shout. There was no PR agency. This was not a part of a high-budget campaign. She didn't put it on LinkedIn, and of course, she didn't post it on Instagram. Well, 1955. But a simple act made massive ripples. A simple act sparked a fire, and a nationwide civil rights movement began that followed and created Civil Rights Act of the United States. Let's jump to 1973 in India. A group of villagers in the Himalayas, they started hugging trees to stop the loggers from preventing it to cut down. Yes, literally hugging trees. You know the way these days we put these selfies while hugging trees and the hashtag Mindful Mondays? These are the folks who started this tree hugging trend, and they saved the entire forest from cutting it down. That's when the Chipko movement was born in 1973, which later became a global blueprint of environmental activism. What do these movements have in common? They didn't start in palaces or parliaments. They started in places of frustration, where ordinary people said, enough, we'll fix it ourselves. The point is, grassroots movements don't look like a revolution when they became. They look like oddballs, inconveniences, or people who are not ready to sit down, literally, metaphorically, or figuratively. But not just about social practices or social justice, a lot of technological shifts have their origins to grassroots movements too. Take Linux, started by Linus Torvalds. It didn't start in Google Labs. It started in his dorm room. No flashy stuff, not backed by venture capitals. He wanted to build a better operating system. Today, Linux runs all your Android smartphones, servers, supercomputers, and all probably your smart devices at your home are Linux-powered too. So we are talking about from garage geekery to global infrastructure. That is what has been created. In Rwanda, blood banks and hospitals were hours apart. Doctors were losing patients. Patients were bleeding out in the hospital simply because they couldn't get access to the blood. That's when a small team said, why not use drones? Enters Zipline, a startup that delivers blood, vaccines, medicines to more than 3,000 clinics and hospitals in Africa. They didn't come from Silicon Valley, by the way. They came from a field hospital where doctors were tired of losing patients to potholes and slow trucks. In another part of the world, kids were hiding their amputated arms in their sleeves. Prosthetics, either too expensive, too robotic, and absolutely not cool. And that's when some makers and engineers said, let's make it fun. Today, a company called Open Bionics creates 3D printed robotic prosthetics, themed like Star Wars, Iron Man, which are light, portable, affordable, and honestly, cooler than my actual limbs. Kids are showing off their prosthetics, by the way. And this is what innovation should be. It should not just be functional, it should be empowering. Back in the days in rural India, doctors were losing out premature babies in hundreds and thousands, not to a disease. They simply couldn't keep them warm. No incubators, no stable electricity, heartbreaking outcomes. And that's when a group of students from Stanford said and created Embrace Infant Warmers. Light, portable, electricity stable, which looks like a little sleeping bag. No buttons, no fuzz, just warmth. And it has saved more than 400,000 lives in Asia. Now that's what we are talking about as grassroots movements, solving the problem in front of you, not in a market research report. And let's not forget the biggest hashtag movement, hashtag #MeToo. Suddenly, one viral, one tweet, one story, millions of men and women started to be seen. Something which was a social taboo became a global reckoning, all because of one hashtag. So tech didn't kill grassroots movements. If you think about it, it gave it a louder mic and a better Wi-Fi. Now, what does it take to start these movements? We all feel change as a big bang. One charismatic leader, one viral moment. But the real change is like a compost. Slow, smelly, but full of potential. It is built by a coder who is coding late at night in Nairobi, or a grandmother teaching the kids in Poland how to protest using poetry, a WhatsApp group coordinating food donations, or a teacher helping students with their assignments, a teenager on TikTok talking about mental health using humor and vulnerability, or a set of moms fixing potholes in a city of Detroit simply because a city council wouldn't. That's the route that we are talking about. They don't ask for credit. They probably would never make headlines, but without them, the canopy of change is not there. And let me tell you a little secret. Most grassroots leaders didn't intend to start a movement. They saw a problem, they saw something which was broken, and decided, well, someone's gonna fix it. Spoiler alert, that someone is usually you. And if you trace back the origin of all the big changes that have happened, all the big events that have happened, you would notice that someone was trying to quietly solve his own problem first, until the world realizes that this is a problem. Now, what does it take for you and me to make that root, to plant that change? The first thing, stubborn optimism, of a kind where you believe that shouting into the void will actually echo back. Persistence, keep going even if no one cares yet. Community, no social or technological movement is possible without scaling, without others joining in. Curiosity over credentials, because passion does not need any permission. And of course, a sense of humor. You're gonna change the world. Let's start to laugh at the glitches along the way. And most importantly, one big step. See, it's very simple. You don't need 1 million followers to make a change. You need one idea and the guts to say, this matters. Because the future won't be saved by billionaires in their rocket ships. It is not built by people in conference rooms. I am part of that conference room as well many a times. It is not built by people with flashy titles like innovation gurus. It is shaped by students with Wi-Fi, teachers with patience, activists with spreadsheets, and developers with open source ideals. And in quiet corners of the world, it is built by the people who have the courage and who are brave enough to begin. So, go ahead, plant your seed, water it with hope, and believe that one day the roots will grow. And trust that one day somebody will stand under the shades of the tree that you have planted and would say, this changed everything. Thank you so much.